Okay, at this time, I would like to welcome each of you to the October the 18th, 2021 school board meeting of the Madison County School Board. At this time, would you please stand for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, I would like to welcome each of you to tonight's meeting. Bless you. The school board meeting is officially called to order. The school board meeting is an advertised meeting held in the public, not a public meeting. We have a set advertised agenda that will be followed. Anyone wishing to address the school board may do so during public input section of the meeting. You will have 3 minutes to address the board. The sign-in sheet to speak during public input is on the table to the left as you enter the boardroom. Please sign in if you wish to speak. Our school board minutes are being recorded this evening by Ms. Bishop, confidential secretary and secretary to the superintendent. Board members present are Mr. Carroll, Ms. Bell, Ms. Gibson, Ms. Williamson, and myself, Bart Alford. Superintendent Ms. Joseph is present, Ms. Bishop is present, and Mr. Reeves, our school board attorney, is also present. At this time, I would like to welcome each of you to the school board meeting. Is there any public input? No? Okay, there's no public input. At this time, I'm going to amend the agenda. I'm going to add a 5.7 to discuss transportation issues. I'm going to add a 5.8 to discuss discipline concerns at Madison County Central School. And I'm going to add a 5.9 to discuss dates of possibly attending outline schools, to discuss 6th grade going back, and possibly 7th and 8th going to the high school for possibly a workshop. So 5.7, transportation issues, 5.8, discuss discipline concerns at Madison County Central, and 5.9 to discuss dates to possibly attend outline schools, Lee, Pinetta, and Greenville, and Central, to discuss 6th grade and possibly 7th and 8th. 5.5 is being pulled this evening, the instructional continuity plan, due to us just receiving the information today, and board members didn't have time to read it. So that is being pulled. Does anyone need anything repeated? Any repeats? Okay, there's no public input. Consent items. Item 4.1 is the minutes from October the 4th, 2021. 4.2 is an agreement between Madison County School Board and the School Board of Seminole County on behalf of the East Coast Technical Assistance Center, the ECTAC. It provides technical assistance to Title I and other specified Elementary and Secondary Education Act, ESSA. 4.3 is the FSU Education General Student Teaching Affiliation Agreement for our student interns. 4.4 is the University of West Florida Student Internship Agreement. 4.5 is field trips. The first is Lee Elementary School, kindergarten through 2nd grade. On November the 4th, 2021, I'm attending the Fall Harvest Experience at the Swanee Valley Agricultural Extension Center. It's 4-H Fall. That will be from 9:45 to 1 p.m. There's 105 students and 10 chaperones. They are going on this field trip, but the bus times are in the allotted times from transportation that they're allowed to go. Their second field trip for Lee Elementary is 4th and 5th grade. They will be attending St. Augustine, November the 16th, 2021, is from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. This trip is funded through fundraising, parent donation, and PTO. There's 48 students, 5 chaperones, and they will be going on a charter bus due to the time frames being 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. We just could not have a bus going at that time. So those are the 2 field trips. In the 4.6 is the out-of-field teachers we have within the district, the out-of-field teachers. So is there a motion to approve the consent items?
I move to approve the consent items.
It's been properly moved by Ms. Gibson. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Mr. Carroll. Any discussion?
Before we move on, could Mr. Killingsworth just give us a little explanation of out-of-field teachers, just for the public information? Just a brief,
Short version?
short version.
Okay, like I said, you have a list of, before you, that basically is 15 people, when you look at the whole list, that composes about 90 classes in general. 10 of the 15 people are from the public school side, 5 are from the charter school side. 64 of the 96 classes are of the charter school out of field. 32 are on the public side. Of our 32, 14 of them are involved with credit recovery type things. So, basically the out of field means that the teacher's area of certification is not in the area that they're teaching that particular class in.
But they're working toward getting certified in that area.
Correct. If not, they will not be. They will be removed. Won't be able to do that
Right.
next year.
Thank you, Mr. Killingsworth.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, it's been properly moved by Ms. Gibson, seconded by Mr. Carroll. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, show a hand, please. 5-0, Ms. Bishop, for approval of the consent items. Okay, 5.0, individual consideration. 5.1 is staff travel to the Florida School Board Association in Tampa in November the 30th through December the 3rd, and FADS. The board and superintendent will be going to Tampa for this meeting. Is there a motion to approve the travel?
You were going to approve them individually?
2 travel things.
There's another one.
There's another. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, the second travel is, overlook this, is the ESSEI 2021 conference. It's the Florida Hotel and Conference Center in Orlando. It's November the 15th through the 18th, 2021. This is Title I, Part A. Ms. Howard, Mr. Gonzalez, and Ms. Williamson are going, and the reason for attending is educational strategies and student engagement, grants, domestic violence, and attendance will be the subjects that will be discussed. The approximate cost is $1,965, and that will be from Title I, Part A. And the cost includes hotel accommodations and registrations. Okay, that's the travel. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the out-of-district travel.
Okay, it's been properly moved by Ms. Williamson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Bell. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, all those in favor, show a hand, please. 5-0, Ms. Bishop, for approval of staff travel. Okay, 5.2, personnel changes. Mr. Killingsworth.
Basically, this evening, we have 1 instructional and 1 non-instructional that we would like to recommend, and unfortunately, we have 1 resignation as well at this time. Then we have your volunteers. Excuse me, I'm sorry. That's the next thing on there.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the personnel changes?
I move to approve the personnel changes.
It's been properly moved by Ms. Gibson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Bell. Any discussion? If there's no further discussion, all those in favor of the personnel changes, please show a hand. 5-0, Ms. Bishop, for approval of the personnel changes. Okay, 5.3, school volunteers, Mr. Killingsworth.
Yes, sir, there are 11 names before you that I'm asking that we allow to be a part of the volunteer list. If you would.
Where will these people be volunteering? I mean, I know that we really hadn't opened back up the schools yet for volunteers. Where were they?
Some of these look to be at some of the charter schools.
No, the James
Two of them
person,
do.
you got several of them going on the
That'll go.
field trip with Ms. Jenkins.
It's field trips then.
Yeah, field trips. The FFA is going to the national convention, and several of them are going there.
So probably a lot of field trips people are going on. Okay, is there a motion to approve the volunteers?
I made the motion to approve the volunteers.
It's been properly moved by Ms. Bell. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Williamson. Any discussion? Okay, if there's no discussion, all those in favor of the volunteers being approved, show of hand, please. 5-0, Ms. Bishop, for approving the school volunteers. Okay, 5.4, permission to advertise the policy changes, and I'll read through them. Policy 4590 is personnel file, non-instructional. Policy 4215 is to the backer-free environment, non-instructional. Policy 4121.01 is criminal background and employment history checks, non-instructional. Policy 4120 is employment of support staff. Policy 3590 is personnel file, instructional. Policy 3215 is tobacco-free environment, instructional. Policy 3121.01 is criminal background and employment history checks, instructional. Policy 3120 is employment of instructional staff. Policy 2800 is educational services for students in DJJ education programs. Policy 2605 is research and evaluation. Policy 2520 is selection and adoption of instructional materials. Policy 2521 is instructional material programs. Policy 2431.03 is concussions and head injuries. Policy 2430 is district-sponsored clubs and activities. Policy 2423 is school to work. Policy 2410 is school health services. Policy 2417 is comprehensive health education. Policy 9800 is charter schools. Policy 8800 is religious, patriotic, and ceremonies and observances, religious, patriotic, ceremonies, and observances. Policy 8452 is automated external defibrillators. Policy 8450.01 is protective facial coverings during pandemic / epidemic events. Policy 8420, emergency management, emergency preparedness, and emergency response agencies. Policy 8406, report of suspicious activity and potential threats to schools. Policy 8330, student records. Policy 8310, public records. Policy 8140, mandatory reporting of misconduct. Policy 7440.01, video surveillance and electronic monitoring. Policy 7434, tobacco-free environment. Policy 6152.01, waiver of student fees. Policy 6152 is student fines, fees, and charges. Policy 5722 is school-sponsored publications and productions. Policy 5630.01, restraint of students with disabilities. Policy 5512 is smoking in tobacco-free environment. Policy 5500, student conduct. Policy 5460, graduation requirements. Policy 5410.01, promotion, acceleration, placement, and retention. Policy 5225, absences for religious holidays. Policy 2215, program of instruction. Policy 2111, parent and family involvement in the school program. Policy 1590, personnel file administrators. Policy 1215, smoking and tobacco-free environment administrators. Policy 1121.01, criminal background and employment history checks administrators. Policy 1120, employment of administrators. Policy 0161, parliamentary authority. Policy 0131, legislative/policy making. Policy 0100, definitions, and Policy 0165.1, agendas. Okay, whoa,
That's a lot.
it's a lot of policies.
Now, this is just a permission to advertise, not the final.
Yes, ma'am, just advertising, it'd be 28 days.
And Mr. Killingsworth, if a parent were listening to this and they say, well, I want to know what the changes are, where would you direct them to those changes? How would they find it?
To our web
Board doc.
page,
Yeah, board docs.
to our
It's
board
in board
docs. and-
docs, and the corrections, the changes are listed in the policies that's posted.
Yeah, I just want to make sure the public knows.
In the,
Most,
on the board docs, in the top right-hand corner across the board, it says featured meetings, agenda, and policies. And you would click on that and you would do the policy number and it would pull it up for them.
You know, the
Well,
parents.
that's gonna give you the
That's gonna
present
give everything.
But it's,
policy. If you
If they
scroll
go into the
down,
agenda,
so you just scroll down on the sheet you got there. And at the very bottom is all of these,
All of
and
them
they're in
listed on the
strike-through
agenda.
format.
okay.
Yes.
So
I
it
just
shows
want to
you.
make sure that anyone who's interested, because they're not going to know
Yeah.
anything by looking at this, you know.
Pull up the agenda for this particular meeting.
And it's on there.
And like I say, it's in strike-through format. They've underlined the additions and struck through the.
red is
Okay.
removed, green is added.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that,
And most of these are basically revisions of previous ones we've had. There's a couple that are basically wholesale changes. But for the most part, that's what they are, and usually they're adjusted due to requirements from some particular House bill or legislative action for the
Right.
most part.
I just want to make sure the public is aware of how to do it and, you know, where to find
Yes,
it
ma'am.
and all this.
Yes, ma'am. And most of them already exist in documents.
Yeah.
We just need to tweak them.
Thank you.
Okay.
There's actually 48 current policies that are on that list there to be looking at.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the advertising of the current policies?
I'll make
Listen.
the motion to advertise the policies.
Okay, it's been properly moved by Ms. Williamson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Bell. Is there any discussion? If there's no discussion, all those in favor of permission to advertise the policies, show of hand, please. 5-0, Ms. Bishop, for approval.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Okay, 5.5 has been pulled due to being placed at our station prior to the meeting. 5.6, the Esther 2 and Esther 3 grant expenditure report. For this, we have, let's see here, the project descriptions for Madison County Central School. The estimated budget was $30,334. It was for a cooling tower. For Greenville Elementary, it was for $13,764. It was for a split heat pump. For Madison County High School, the project is for the spring of 2022. and its total is $104,602. It was for a carrier 50-ton and a chiller for the high school. So that is a lot of money that's not having to come out of our general fund. We're able to replace some air units and heating units that are a big price tag.
Can I say one thing?
Yes, sir.
You got two things, and I've already talked to the superintendent about it. If you look on the terms and conditions of the proposal, on number 10, the first sentence, there's no problem with. It says the contract shall be deemed to have entered into and governed by the laws of the state of Florida. Of course, that's fine. But then after that, it goes into an arbitration clause, and then it says that the site of the arbitration shall be Pensacola, Florida, et cetera, et cetera. I think we're going to need to strike everything after that first sentence. And so if you're going to approve it, I would ask that you approve it, but striking everything after the first sentence in number 10. And then in number 5, they have a warranty on service and materials that extends for 90 days after installation, which there's nothing wrong with that, but I just point that out so that everybody understands you really need to look at these real hard in that first 90 days, because after that, all you're going to be left with is the manufacturer's warranty, and that's not going to warrant how the thing's put in or any of the workmanship, that sort of stuff. So I'm
Which
not,
one has a warranty?
number 5.
Okay.
And so I don't think we need to change anything in number
Just,
5,
cognizant of
but
it.
just, yeah, they need to shake it down real hard the first 90 days and
Okay.
make sure everything's right.
So you're asking for number 10 to be strike through or removed?
Everything after the first sentence.
Okay.
And I think that same terms and conditions is on. They've given us 3 different proposals and it's on all 3 of them.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the Esther 2 and Esther 3 with the additions that Mr. Reeves has said?
Okay, I move to approve the ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 grant expenditure report. Under terms and conditions, number 10, strike out everything after the first sentence.
Okay. It's been
And you said no change on number 5, right?
No, it doesn't need to be changed, we just need to be aware.
Okay, it's been properly moved by Ms. Gibson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Williamson. Is there any discussion?
Was this something that was put in when the school was renovated, the high school? Do we know, or I don't know.
I don't know.
We don't know.
I know what happened at the gym. They have 2 chillers. During the renovation, they replaced one and did not replace the other. And so that's the purpose of this
Oh,
expenditure for the
okay.
chiller at the high school gym.
Thank you.
Okay. It's been properly moved by Ms. Gibson, seconded by Ms. Williamson. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor, show of hand, please. 5-0, Ms. Bishop, for approval of the ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 grant expenditure report. Okay. 5.7, transportation issues. Last Thursday, we received an email from Ms. Cootie, and I do want to thank her for all your work that you've been doing in there. And she said that we were down 5 bus drivers and lost another Friday and another the first year, so that would be a total of 7. She was having to double up routes to make it work, and she's done that, and my hat's off to her for figuring all that out. She also went on to say that no applicants to train have applied, which we did just hire one, so that's good. We're short buses and spare parts, and bus 28 has a blown motor, and 23 is in the shop with new valves in the motor. And she was asking, what do we want to do? And again, one of the things that were mentioned was to cut out the 2-mile radius from the school, which I mean, I'm just speaking for myself. I don't know that we can do that because I don't know the safety-wise of getting to Central and with 90 with children on the road. Ms. Joseph, do you have any recommendations on that? I mean,
No, I've been discussing this with her, but this has sort of evolved since, a lot of this has evolved since school has started.
right.
And we're just trying to brainstorm and see if we can do something. One thing that we are trying to do, if we hire a bus aide, if we find someone that want to be trained, okay, we are hiring them as bus aides, so they'll have an income while they are being trained, because they're not getting paid for training. But the caveat to that is they will have to sign an agreement to work with us for a year, otherwise they'll have to pay us back. And so that way they get to have an income while they're trained to be a bus driver. And then,
You know,
hopefully, that's one thing that we're trying to work on.
One
But
thing that I was thinking about, and I know that we don't really like to do this, but I would think that possibly it could save us money is if we had paras or teachers in the district, especially paras and maybe lunchroom workers who had the CDL, if we allowed them to drive also, even if we're having to pay the time and a half, we still would be saving because we're not having to pay the $400 for the insurance because they already would have had the insurance because they worked for us. So I don't know that we may not be coming out ahead even after paying the time and a half.
we did offer the opportunity to all the
We already
coaches to
offered.
train, we offered to train them to become bus drivers, get their CDL license. We had one person take us upon that, and he's still in training.
but did they understand, like, I know that sometimes full-time paras think they can't do it because it would take you over the 8 hours a day, that we would allow them to do that and pay the overtime for over the 8 hours a day, because we would have to pay time and a half.
My comment was referring to cafeteria workers and, bus drivers then flipping over to working cafeteria or another part within the school facility.
But if we had parapros in the district who had maybe an interest of getting their CDL to doing it also, I don't know that, I mean, that would be a good question for Ms. Rainick to look at the numbers, because just on the $400 of insurance that we have to pay, it would be a savings there. And then even at the time and a half, I don't know that it would still be less than the $400 a month for the insurance.
We have offered that, and after the meeting, I'll talk with you about one person that could possibly do it. I'm not gonna talk with you in the meeting about that
Okay,
one
well,
person.
I mean, I would like for us, if we're that needy, to put it out there for all employees, if they had an interest in that. Some people just may not feel comfortable driving a bus. If you have some who would, and it would be extra money for them, I think it would be great to offer it. I mean, and just looking at the numbers, unless something is hidden that I'm not seeing, I would think we would be saving money.
I think so too.
Well, we've offered free training to all those coaches, and we've had one taker.
Did you offer time and a half to our employees?
Does
As
the
a
board
general
have to approve
population,
to
no,
pay?
because we have something else lined up for them. That they,
You mean,
Well, my understanding though with the coaches was that they wasn't gonna get paid. That
they
was
weren't
my-
gonna get paid for training, okay? And they wouldn't have to pay for training, but if they would.
They have to pay for training?
We pay, well, yes, we do pay somebody for training. They don't have to pay, that would be free training. But we are paying someone to do the training.
But once they got trained and they drove a bus, they get paid.
I would think they would get time and half time if they work more than an 8-hour day, because the union says if you work more than an 8-hour day, you have to get time and half, it's overtime.
And we follow this.
So if they're at school for 7.5 hours, After 30 minutes, they go to time and a half.
But even at that, I would think you would do it as, if you're a bus driver, it would be based upon, if this is your first year driving a bus, it would be on beginning bus, on driving the bus, it would be on bus driver's salary, not whatever
It would be
level
their
you're on.
salary.
Not whatever level
It
you're
would
on.
be whatever level they are, we'd have to pay them at their level.
For a bus driver?
If we have them working over their time, we have to pay them at their level of pay.
Even if they've never done that before?
You mean they would get teacher pay if they're teachers driving the bus?
If we have a teacher working longer than those 37 and a half hours,
They're
we
gonna
would
get-
have to pay them at their rate of pay.
Well,
Mr.
even,
Kilsworth had something to say.
The part about coaches, what that was about was not in the intention of, because at the time we didn't see that, that was not to put on to run a route. Because in the conversation with the coaches, their first concern was, you're gonna turn around and stick me driving a bus before or after school. I said, no, that is not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about here is when you are trying to request bus prior to the end of the school day, that if you have a CDL where you can drive a bus, then you could get one and then you could drive it yourself. Because basically FTE is funded around getting those kids to and from school is our priority. Then getting them to and from whatever contest they're in. And part of that is why we have stipulated and told them, please do not request a bus before 4:30. You know, now they will request them at 4, but we say it's liable to be 4:30 or so before we can actually get you a bus, because it may be a bus that just runs in town, or it may be one that runs one of these other routes. We can't guarantee you which bus is going to get there. You know, who's got a call for that, you know, that contest or whatever, so.
but even if like several of them got their license, what I'm hearing is we don't have a surplus of buses sitting down there in the bay.
Yeah, we don't have an
Ready
extra
for
bus.
them to
if
come
they
get
could
it.
drive.
You actually have purchased 3 new buses that y'all were gracious to purchase last school year. And we still don't have them.
Right.
Because of all the things that are going
Right.
on, we can't get them, it's, you know.
So,
Ben, you're not talking about potential bus drivers then, are you?
Uh,
You're talking about coaches going some,
But, I mean, if you offered it though, if you offered them pay, or any employee pay.
they might be
They
interested.
may be interested in driving a bus.
Yeah,
I
I'm
know,
not against that concept, but I wanted to clear the air to make
Okay.
sure that what the previous arrangements or agreements were, what that was based on, how that was derived, so that we're not trying to backdoor them into something that they may not wish to do. or
Right.
they wish
Well, I
to do.
mean,
If they
not
wish to do it,
everybody
then
wants-
it's a bonus.
not everybody wants to drive a route, but
And they-
a lot of people want to drive one if they get paid.
right, and you could list them as subs. This wouldn't be their permanent route. So hopefully, if you can hire some drivers eventually, you wouldn't have to do this because they want to drive a bus for 10 years.
Absolutely, I agree with you. I'm not against them driving. I just didn't want them to perceive it as we're pushing them.
And if you're
Right.
listed as a sub, you
I
don't,
mean, yeah.
you can turn down.
Yeah.
So I call you and say, can you drive today? It's like, nope.
When you say time and a half, and you said that if teachers get paid their salary, they will get paid their time and a half of their salary?
Yes.
If it's
What?
over 8 hours, you have.
And that's
After you
even
have-
for driving a bus?
That's the state, that's the federal employment law.
So,
Anything
but
else-
if you could get
Actually,
a
we get 3 and a
custodian
half hours, we
or a
get 2.5
para,
hours of
it's
regular
really not
rate.
much different than
But-
what the bus driver pay would
probably
be
we
to
need
start.
we need to look
Cafeteria
at
Exactly.
either cafeteria workers or paras that will be the ones that would be offered to be able to do it, because that's probably,
Their pay would be pretty close hourly to what a bus driver would be, your custodians, your paras, and your food service workers. It's beginning, even secretaries, some of their salaries is not terrible.
Probably be a little more flexible too, with the
We do have,
Yeah.
some bus drivers that's double dipping, and when I say double dipping, they drive the bus and they work in the cafeteria.
So that's it, but that's half-time and half bus,
Right.
half whatever, they're not going
And it's
over the 8
overtime.
hours, so overtime's not involved. I know that one time that the bus shop had a certain amount of money that they could use for overtime when they were having to send the mechanics to pay, and then when they reached that max of money in overtime money, they'd have to come back here or relook at something. I don't know if you want to do that or just let it be what it has to be, because you have to have somebody certified to drive a bus.
Right.
You can get somebody, an aide can cover a classroom. We don't want to do that, but that's a person, people, if you're not a bus driver, you can't cover the bus.
What's the, a full-time bus driver is what?
4 hours.
4 hours? So,
Like 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon. For work.
so are they allowed, they're allowed, is there a longer route or a shorter route, or are they all the same?
They made all of them the
They're all
same
the
route.
same.
They used to have a long run, a short run,
Yeah.
but during Mr. Alderman's time, they made everybody the same 4 hours.
I got you.
But all routes do not take the same length of time.
Right, right. Which is probably
You still
not
may
fair.
not have any takers, but maybe.
You know what I'm saying?
I would
A
think you
30
may
minute
would
route
have
still
some
get paid 4 hours,
takers
and
on
then a 5 hour route
Parapro
get paid for
and
4 hours.
It's extra money, I would think
It's,
you would.
it's extra money if they feel comfortable driving now. That's the
And
biggest.
pass the,
How long is the training? How long does it take
It's
to
a
be?
40-hour course, and that is if he feels comfortable after the 40 hours, and if he feels like a person needs a longer period of training, he will go the extra training, because they go to Lively and get tested.
Okay.
And the guy over there is very,
well, you would want them to be, you'd want them to make sure.
All that pre-trip stuff you have to do.
oh yeah, that's all included in that, and everything, the parts.
We could give them all their mallet
You
when they
better, you better say the right word, like it's in the manual. The belt
hit
is
them tires
free.
with that rubber mallet.
Yeah, one of the, drivers, I think the trainer, had discussed some with me concerning us being short in Winn-Dixie the other day, and.
Yeah, I know a county that is doing this, and actually, one of the assistant principals at one of the schools is running a route.
Yeah, I know a superintendent's running around, I think.
I've seen that.
I don't have those licenses.
You need to
People are getting innovative, doing what they need to do, although I saw a thing on TV the other day that the second man in the FBI is
saw that?
retired and he's driving a school bus.
Yeah.
Yes. Not that it makes us feel any better, this is not, we don't have a monopoly on this, it's statewide, it's almost
country,
nationwide.
it's
That we have a
countrywide.
shortage of
Well,
drivers.
You know, in all essence, a bus driver is hauling the most precious cargo there are,
I agree.
and they get paid the less money.
They do. I've always thought that too, Frankie, because a bus driver has the only job in our district that has the lives, physical lives of the children in their hands.
One,
And,
That responsibility.
and other people on the road.
Right.
Because
One
if you're
sli- one
driving the
slip
bus
up,
reckless.
it's over, you're done.
So, with, what's the board's feeling concerning the 2-mile radius? I understand that maybe years ago, we didn't have the 2-mile, and people have got accustomed to us picking up within the 2 miles, and I don't know that it would be hard to
It's
stop
gonna
it.
be hard, because there's some areas that I think it would be easy to cut that out. But other areas, I think it would be really hard and almost a dangerous situation. If I lived at Hilltop, that's a mile and 9/10 to the central school. My kindergartner would not be walking down the side of Highway 90.
Right. And there's,
You know.
there's not even a back, yeah, there's a south entrance to Central, but there's not a road that they could walk on. The Country Club Road is not a road that you could walk on.
Well, and you don't want them to walk in a real
Right,
secluded area either.
sidewalks or, so I don't know that we have a safe avenue that even can be considered for
But there's
that.
some areas we could cut it out, but then you can't get into that, we're gonna cut some and not others. I mean,
Even
Right.
the trailers across the street, they still got to cross the street.
Well, I don't know how they would get across unless we built an
That's
overwalk
tough.
for
I
them.
seen somebody cross the other day, but it was challenging for them, I mean, but.
well, those officers are out there directing
patrolmen out there.
that speed stuff.
When
They
the
should
patrolmen
escort
out-
those children across the road.
Still, I bet it's busy out there in the
It's
morning.
busy out there.
Yeah,
I still would be nervous.
yeah, because you don't know, I mean, the thing about it, you don't know what kids are gonna do, you don't know what the drivers will do, and,
Howard, I'd like to table that that suggestion for now and go along with what we're talking about previously. Just see if we can get some interest.
with the
in-
parapros
With the
and
parapros and the time and a half.
custodians
Yes, and try that and,
The other thing that I, as a chairman, feel after reading this email, Ms. Cooney has not complained about it, but I do think at this time, we need to do some type of either temporary leave fill-in, advertise within the district, to add a supplement for that position or stipend, because I don't want anyone to feel we're taking advantage of anyone.
And-
I mean,
and Mrs. Cootie's been doing the job since
for months.
February now, and her emails are not about her. The emails are about
And
the
again,
school.
I mean, she is the secretary down there, but she's having to be the boss, and I just feel like we need to advertise a temporary leave fill-in, advertise it from within the district, and do some sort of supplement or stipend for that position for whoever applies, that they're given that, because it's not fair to, I just don't want it to appear that we're taking advantage.
Right.
And
I
that's not our
agree.
intent at all.
How do
And
we-
I think it does need to be from within the district, not an additional employee. For one thing, this may be for 2 weeks.
Maybe
It
for a
could be
week.
for 2 months. We don't know when the transportation director will be able to come back. He may come back soon, it may be a while. We don't know. So, if it's from the outside, that would be totally unfair to hire somebody, and then 3 weeks later, you got to say, well, you got to go.
I agree. I think we should list the stipulations, like that's one right there. As far as one of the requirements would be the experience, because they have to have experience. This is a big job,
Well, just having the fortitude to go ahead and send out us that email to alert us that this was coming ahead, because, again, we can try to be as proactive as we can. I'd also said the other day, I think, to Becky, that possibly if we could advertise maybe on Facebook concerning that we do now pay for insurance. That may be something with someone older who maybe Becky, so you've done it? Thank you. That maybe someone would want that's like retired and they're wanting some insurance and a little extra money, that may be something that would attract someone.
Because some people get to retire early, so you're
They don't
not
have-
eligible for
Social Security.
Medicare, Social Security, anything. And, insurance means a lot to them. And if they didn't have a job that they can keep their insurance through, then that's a biggie for them, a biggie, A
And
lot of
some-
people work for just the insurance. We got a bus driver now, I know she's working, she said her family's on the plan. She said, I'm working for just insurance, but we need the insurance.
and I know people who have jobs but no insurance, so they can do this in the morning and the afternoon and
Especially
maybe.
if you're
Their job's kind of
self-employed.
flexible, so.
And I know the salary is less, but there are benefits in that you have insurance, you're in the FRS, you have sick days, and if you're self-employed, you would not have that. At one time I was self-employed as subcontractor, and when you were sick, you didn't have sick days or vacation days or insurance, you had to get your own, so.
Well, getting back to filling in for the transportation director, do you want to do a stipend for somebody to apply for that job, or call it, or advertise it as leave fill-in?
What do you recommend?
Can I ask a question? And I apologize, I don't guess I'm yet understanding. Are you saying that someone within the district would no longer, during this time, would not perform their job? They would move over and only perform this job? Right?
Yeah,
Okay, so what I think you can do, the superintendent can assign somebody on, I'm sorry?
We can't afford to give anybody else, we need employees.
Okay.
I mean, if we move her, it's still her position becomes vacant, so just do it from within, we don't have the personnel.
Well, I was thinking that if she's continuing to do that, then she would continue to do her job and that job, she's doing it now. And you would be moving a secretary, she's still doing both jobs, at least she would
You
be.
can't have two different positions at the same time, can you?
I'm still not understanding. Wait just one second. I thought we were missing the head of the
We are.
transportation.
we are.
So why are we needing another secretary?
You're not. I mean,
Okay.
if,
The vacant is the head of the transportation.
but the secretary that's in there right now is the one doing her job and his job.
I see.
We need to compensate her for doing
Doing
both
it.
jobs. That's what,
That's the bottom
That's the
line.
bottom line.
I
Okay,
think
that has to go through the union, you do
Yes.
know that, don't you?
that the secretary is a union member, so you have to bargain
Right.
that with the
But-
union. But I think you can instruct Mr. Dietzen to go ahead and.
But we can't
start.
just give a secretary an increase even though she's doing another job, because that would have to be through the union. You can't give one secretary more
No,
money. So you would have to do something else like a temporary leave fill-in or a stipend. You couldn't just raise a salary on somebody, on a secretary.
You can't do a temporary leave fill-in or a stipend without negotiating it through the union. You can't give more money without the union being involved. You can call it a stipend, you can call it a raise, you can call it temporary, whatever. More dollars have to be negotiated. So I think that's got to go through the union. Yeah, you probably want to call it a stipend until this
Because we'd
position
be
is
creating a
filled.
new position and you got to put a money value to it. Now, it might have to go to the union, but that's what you're doing. Because there is no position as this. There's no lead, there's no
We've got a
lead
head, we've
fill-in
got a
person
secretary. What do
for
we-
transportation. That doesn't
Okay.
exist. We're going to have to make a lead fill-in for transportation.
Or go
I'm
to
sorry,
the,
I'm just being
or
slow.
go to the union and just ask if they would agree with it, which I don't know why they wouldn't.
They're not signing off on anything right now because we still have that step. We're trying to get rid of that step. And honestly, they're not signing off anything.
Okay, I'm sorry I'm being slow. There's a head of transportation, there's a secretary. What position are we creating?
Lead fill-in because the transportation director is not there right now. But he still has that job. He's out sick.
Okay?
So we can't advertise and hire a new transportation director to do the job.
I agree.
Somebody's got to be responsible to do it.
So
Leave.
why do we create a new position for that? Wouldn't you just move somebody in temporarily into that position, and then when he gets better, you move them out?
Can we do
Can we do
that?
that?
Certainly. The superintendent can move somebody on temporary assignment, even if they're under contract or whatever. I mean, they gotta be qualified, they gotta know what they're doing, and then you gotta figure out who's gonna do their old job while they're doing this one. I mean, but yeah, superintendent can move folks around that way on temporary assignment during their term.
So we could move the person that's doing the job now, just move them into that?
Are you talking about the secretary?
Yeah.
I think if she's qualified and able to do it and all that kind of stuff.
She's been doing
sure.
it since February.
Well, and I'm not trying to say she's not qualified, but my point is, if she's qualified, then yeah, y'all
I
can do
think
that.
she meets the job description.
That would be, you'd move them on temporary assignment. And that would be the superintendent's
But why
call.
would you have to fill her secretary's job if she's been doing that since
She can do
February?
both jobs.
And she's doing both.
Because everybody's got to have one position. You can't, I can't make you the fifth grade math teacher and the sixth grade English teacher, now you got to figure out.
But we've
where
been
to
doing
get-
that for this many months.
Well, you've got one position that's taken on extra duties. I think you can move somebody out of the secretarial position and into the temporarily into the higher position if you wanted to. And that would be a Leonard Dietzen question, but I don't think that would have to be negotiated because the head of transportation is not a member of the bargaining unit, is it? So then you're taking somebody out of the bargaining unit and putting them temporarily into the position, the higher position, and then you're going to, when the head of transportation comes back, then she's moved back down. But and I'm not saying all that works. I'm saying that's a way to do it if.
Would her position, would that position, the secretary, have to be filled?
No.
Okay. in
None
other
of your
words-
positions have to be
Okay, so
filled.
that, Okay,
Yeah, it gotta be
so in
advertised.
other words, we don't have to run out and hire someone to take
No.
that position.
No,
Okay.
more than you gotta go run out and hire somebody to teach fifth grade English. I mean,
Yeah.
if nobody's there to fill the position,
Okay.
but you don't have to advertise it even, no, if you want to
Okay.
leave it vacant.
But-
All that,
so-
but now that's not the board doing that, though. That
No,
would be
it's the superintendent.
the superintendent, putting somebody on temporary assignment in a different position.
Okay.
Tell me, if you have a change in pay, wouldn't that have to be advertised?
Not on temporary position.
On a temporary position, it doesn't have to be
No.
advertised?
And I haven't looked at those rules in a
Okay.
while. I believe what those rules say, though, is if you're moving somebody temporary position, they get the higher of the two salaries while they're doing the temporary position. So if
Okay.
I'm making a lot, and you're moving me down here, I take my big salary. If I'm making a little and you move me to a position with, I get the higher salary, but that's just for while they're on
Okay,
doing that temporary assignment. Now, I'm not guaranteeing that's what the rules say, but I think that's what they say.
okay.
So that, but now how everything else gets handled, I think is, you got to
Okay.
figure that out.
I'll check with Leonard on
I would check with Leonard.
that. But we were told lateral removal is fine, but if you do a change in position, go higher, that has to be advertised, but, I'll refer to Leonard on
A
that.
temporary one?
I really don't think
Okay.
I dealt with the temporary before.
So we will see about the parapros and lunchroom workers, custodians who may would be interested in being trained to be bus drivers. And we're not looking at the 2-mile radius right now, and you're going to check on the possibility with Mr. Dietzen of if we can go up for the time for temporary duty.
Move the secretary temporarily to the head of transportation. And now, if the superintendent decides that she can do that, she can go ahead and do that. You don't have to have school board approval for that. That's superintendent's allowed to put people on temporary assignment.
I just think that if she's going to be making those types of decisions and be over people, we need to do our part and reimburse her for that, because that's a lot to ask someone to do in their job. That's just my opinion. She hasn't complained about it, but
And I want to thank Ms. Cootie. She's not asking for this.
No,
We're
no, no,
asking-
no.
asking
When I read
for this
the
to be looked
email,
at,
it just
because
sort
she's
of-
not complained and has been doing it all these months without complaint, and we appreciate it.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for all you've done and still doing here tonight.
And that's a stressful,
Oh, yeah,
Extreme stressful.
not knowing if you have the drivers, I can't imagine.
Or 5 a.m. call, hey, I keep up with work, I keep up my route, I'm like, ugh.
Right, that's
yeah,
a
it's
big,
very stressful.
a big stress and a big responsibility here within the district. 5.8, if that's all the transportation issues, do we need to vote on that, Mr. Reeves, or?
Oh, Mr. Kelly.
Do we need to approve overtime? If we get any takers on that?
It'll be brought back to us then.
Yeah, because if you get, I guess the first thing is you would have to, you're probably going to have this come back in another meeting.
To see if you
But
have any.
you'd have to approve paying for the training, all that. Once they get through the training, that's when the extra pay would start. I think you would need to approve that, not each and everybody's additional overtime, but just, yes, that we're allowed to exceed the 40 hours a week and pay people time and a half for the driving the bus.
Because I would think some people would find it appealing. I mean,
Yeah.
you would think,
Well, normally, would they pay to be trained?
No,
Or-
they do not pay to
They-
be trained. We pay the
You pay
trainer,
that
and
under-
that's a cost that the district covers already.
Okay.
And that's pretty common with districts, as far as I know. They don't pay to train people to drive buses.
if we can find people from within, I would much rather pay them the extra and have people in. And again, I think that would be saving based upon us not having to do the benefits that you would have to do with the new hire, that we would probably break even, if not save money, if you looked at it on paper with pen and paper of what the savings are. 5.8, I added this because last Wednesday evening I received a message concerning discipline issues that were discussed concerning Central. And as a chairman, we have been told nothing about any problems at Central from the district office staff who are there representing the school. We haven't heard anything, and I think that if it's important enough that you feel to put it out on Facebook for people in the community to try to come up with a solution, then I think it's essential that us as a board need to have a workshop, and there needs to be a corrective action plan for what's going on at Central and what needs to go on to see what's going on.
Yes, we do, because it was very disconcerting. If it indicates habitual problems that are keeping the school from functioning like it should and kids from learning. If there's kids that are causing that type of problem, we've not seen them here.
We haven't heard about it.
I mean, you get enough write-ups, it comes here. And we've not seen them, so there's, I mean, probably lots of things in between that and here that's not being done as effectively as it could be. I mean, it's just really sad when you have to put out an email to ask parents what to do.
And again, it's not our job to micromanage a school, but I felt at this point, when you're sending out an SOS to the community of what to do, us as a board, for us to sit back and do nothing, we're just as much at fault as whatever's happening. And again, we don't know what's happening because we haven't heard. I mean, no one's been before us telling us anything other than everything's going great.
I think Mr. Williams came here at one time and mentioned something about the disciplinary problems that they were having at the Central School. I mean, I don't remember word from word what he said, but I think it was.
But again, if they're that great, then we should be expelling people. People should have been before us.
I think that's when we came up with the community. Somebody was supposed to come into play where the community, the schools and the parents all were supposed to be up under some program.
We have restorative practices, but restorative practice doesn't take the place of discipline. Does it, Ms. Joseph?
No, it does not. It believes in discipline.
Right.
This was on his personal Facebook page? I'm asking you.
I don't
It
know.
was. I seen, but I talked to Mr. Williams and, I didn't talk to him about this. I'd already talked to him. At the game one Friday night, I talked with him, and he was just telling me that, it used to be just like the middle school part where you had the worst trouble, but now it's the smaller kids on up, it's kind of hard for them. He said that, that they act out, and then you try to get the parent to come pick them up, and they won't come pick them up. It's just a lot of stuff that he's trying to deal with that, but and I just had to ask him a question about some things, and because I had got a parent had called me about their daughter, and it was about, well, this was the 5th grade, and it was about having, the teacher quit and left, and then they had a sub, and they left, and, the kid they was about 2 weeks behind, and they was trying to stay in, having PE and having that, and then they had,
But the sad thing is.
It is a lot of issues right now.
But there's a teacher shortage all over everywhere
Yes.
too. If the behavior is not under control and you're trying to teach and you can't.
Oh, I know.
You go somewhere else.
I do, I understand that, but I also understand that, they try to keep kids in school, and, you know how it all is nowadays, you try to keep them there as much as you can. So I don't know.
Well, again, at that point, then I feel that we should have been told where we could provide we have a lot of people in this district with teaching certificates walking around who could be there helping do something. I mean, we could have behavior specialists. We have behavioralists here in the district who can make recommendations. And again, 9 chances out of 10, misbehavior in classroom is due to something that either the kids aren't being kept busy or the roles have not been set at the beginning of the year with what the expectations are of that class. If you go into a teacher's class that is strict, the roles are there and the kids are doing what they're supposed to. So again, I don't know what's going on. It's not our place as board members to say what's going on, but it is our place when we have parents complaining. And last Tuesday night, and this is the next section, I was at Lee and concerning parents not wanting their kids to go to Central, and a parent sitting right there and said that she had withdrew her child due to just, I don't even want to discuss what all was going on, but very inappropriate things that if that shouldn't have been going on. And if you have those types of situations in the classroom, it's going to lead to chaos in the school. And that's the point I'm getting at is the classrooms need to be monitored of what's going on in the classroom to have control of the room. But again, I would like some type of workshop, Ms. Joseph, where that is school administrators come with their complaints and their corrective action of what they're doing to improve this. This can't go on. I mean,
when?
you name it. I mean,
Yes, well, I think we need to do it as soon as possible.
Do you want to have it before the next, I'm looking at November. November 1st is our next meeting. We can have it from 5 until 6, or is that, you just want a workshop with the principals and APs?
of whoever out there who's in charge or think they're in charge, who's doing this. I mean,
Anyone's in charge of discipline. If that's their job, well, then they need to speak to us.
Well, I don't know that it's just, I mean, that would be the dean in charge of discipline. This
The
is,
principal is supposed to be in charge of the school.
Right.
Now, you want him to bring the dean also?
well, I want whoever, again, the people who are in charge, I would view the dean as the low man on the totem pole there.
Thank you. Okay.
I mean, it's not the dean.
I'll get the principals and APs.
It's not the dean. The dean's the low man on the totem pole.
Would 1 hour time be enough?
It would be a start. It would be a start. I mean, I think that this is something that needs to be addressed as soon as possible because, again, we're going to these outlying schools concerning the 6th grade. Again, we're out there trying to make a plea for Central, and then the next day, not even 24 hours to the time, this goes on Facebook, and everybody who was out at least saying they didn't want their child to go, this is backup of why they don't need to go.
Okay, I'm going to suggest November 1st at 5 o'clock from 5 until 6.
That's fine.
That's good with me.
That way we don't have the
Anybody have-
special, is that a good time?
Yes.
And I'll have all the principals and APs.
Do you want all of them or just Central?
No,
just
it's just
Central.
Central.
Just Central?
Just Central.
I mean, that's the one.
Okay.
That's the one where. And again, I know the high school sends us detailed reports of how many fights, how many this. We need that from that school also.
Yes.
We need how many people are truant, how many fights, how many referrals. I mean, we need to see what the picture is. We need empirical data of what's going on there. I mean, if you're
We
sitting.
can discuss that at the workshop with the.
You got the time down? Okay, so the Central people, November 1st at 5 p.m. Okay,
And the data that goes along with
and discipline data.
discipline
And
data
attendance.
and attendance, discipline data and attendance of broken down by grade level of who's doing it, what they're doing. Again, when you go to the extreme of sending out an SOS to the community that you don't know what else to do, then we need to really look at the data and see what's going on, in my opinion. And again, going out to these school by school, once you go to one of these schools, you're going to see it firsthand of the people with their complaints, and it's all geared toward the middle school side here, and you can't defend it. I tried the other night, but when something like this comes out the next day, there's no defense of it. And the last item that I brought up is to discuss the dates that we plan to attend the outlying schools and Central concerning the sixth grade going back. But with that being said, we do need to have the discussion and conversation with the high school, the possibility of the 7th and 8th, because that's from Tuesday night, the parents are going to want to know what's their option. If there has to be, we have to present some type, in my opinion, some type of option. If sixth grade are going back to the outlying schools, which DOE says that's in our capacity to do that, and they've already said that 7th and 8th back 3 years ago could not, based upon, they would not allow it, based upon Central being under capacity. 6 is still considered elementary, so they're saying that they can. There has to be some type of option based upon, parents the other night were saying that, well, that needs to be cleaned up. Well, I agree with that. I agree. I mean, we've sat up here and said that, and that's why we need to have this session or workshop to see what's the next steps for it to being cleared up. But until that, there needs to be some sort of option, because if parents don't have an option for 7th and 8th, they're going to continue to pull out. I mean, in my opinion, the thing that's going to possibly stop them from pulling out would be having another option other than Creative Arts or James Madison. If they have another option of something, Central at this point is not an option for the people who are disgruntled. And what was posted the other night does not help our plea in trying to, stop them. Oh, give it a chance. I mean, I don't know. I just think that it's something that we need to discuss. We need to look at to see if there's room out there. I've asked for the capacity, still haven't heard if whatever the seating capacity is at the school. But I mean, we can't just sit back and do nothing and hope it goes away, because what'll go away is students. Students will go away because parents are actively making arrangements based upon what we're going to do with 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, based upon other night with some parents in that meeting.
Who does have the number of student stations at the
Beats
high
me,
school?
I've asked for it.
Who does have that? Would that be under maintenance or who?
Maintenance, he brought a fish report here a prior meeting, but I'll ask him to send it again. But that was asked for, and he did give it to somebody. That fish report tells you the capacity of each room. I'll just ask him to bring it back.
I feel that too needs to be some type of workshop we have, and we need to set dates where the whole board goes to these schools, just as we did back when we did the nonstop we stopped the door-to-door pickup. If you remember back years ago, when we went on the tour and went to every school here in the district, because again, parents are they're eager to find this out. They feel like they have no option. They feel like stuck, and they're doing whatever they can to try to, whether a lot of them say they don't want to pull out, but they're doing it because to avoid going to Central.
Bart, I thought initially we were going to be making dates for all of us to go to each school. That was the plan to begin with.
I think we was gonna start at the beginning of the
We were going to start,
new year.
Yeah, the
I'm
new
talking
year.
about after January.
We need to do it before that.
no, I thought we were
think.
going to do it after school began. Not-
We decided to do something in one of the meetings in January, I think after Christmas.
Did we put that on?
We talked about
Yes,
it.
you did.
I don't remember saying it's after
Okay.
January.
I believe that's
We
what we
did.
said we was
Well-
gonna start at a meeting.
Well,
what
I
I said,
think
But if we need to do it earlier than that.
I think right now we need to start with looking into the sixth grade, in all reality, we have space at all three schools for sixth grade. It's the seventh and eighth that we have got to come up with some type of creative plan to where if Central is not going to improve, and we've got to come up with a way where that middle school side is taken out of the equation, where parents feel safe and keep leaving their students within the district. If not, we're going to continue to have a mass exodus. Creative Arts is building a new school, and nothing against Creative Arts. I wish them well. But with another school is going to come additional students they're going to take, in all reality. I don't know that. I hadn't heard that, but I suspect that. I mean, that's the reality. They already have people on a waiting list, and right now, in looking at the figures that Ms. Joseph gave us from the last time, I think we're down 22 students on the last survey, and that's around $154,000. Approximately that. It could be a little bit more, it could be less, but again, I mean,
It's 22 and double it.
well, no, I had already
Oh,
doubled.
it is.
I
That's
already-
all we're down. I think we're down
Well,
more than
initially it
that.
was 59 in the other category, which I hope it's a 22.
It's more than that. It's more like 59.
Well, at 59, that's around $400,000 dollars. So again, and no one here is trying to make a place, because again, you try to defend it in those meetings, and it's hard when you have parents saying stuff to you that I don't even want to repeat at this station of what went on in the classroom. And I mean, how do you defend that? I mean, you can't defend it. And then something comes out on Facebook, you can't defend it. And if we have any hope of keeping parents within the district and not fly into other places, we've got to be creative in some way. Some way. I don't know what the answer is, but we have to sit back doing nothing is we're just going to say, might as well say, then you need to exit, because they are. Parents are actively strategizing of how to do this.
Now, Bart, let's get back to this thing about going to the small schools and incorporating sixth grade. Now, I want to allow us enough time to do this. In other words,
Well, in my opinion, based upon last Tuesday night, we need to have in mind of what we're going to do with 7th and 8th before we go. I mean, I think this Tuesday night it's going to be at Pinetta. If it hasn't been advertised, then I feel that you should be the one to go, since that's your district.
I'd be happy to do that.
And you represent the board and answer any questions, because they're going to want questions. And they're going to want to know what you're going to do and what you're going to do with 7th and 8th grade.
Well, we can't make a decision.
Well,
I
7th
mean,
and
yeah.
8th grade, DOE's not going to allow that. They said that 3 years
So
ago.
that's off the table.
They
right
said
there.
that 3 years ago.
Right.
6th grade, they have said that they would allow.
Okay.
But I just think that before, we do need to go to all the schools, but before we go, we need to have data on the high school, if they can tolerate having the 7th and 8th grade, not tolerate, but physically have the infrastructure to have them. Who knows since the renovation? But with that, parents are going to want questions. And they're going to be satisfied with 6th grade, but ultimately they're going to want to know about 7th and 8th. Because 6th grade is great, but 7th and 8th is going to drive them of where they pull their child out and send them.
Sixth grade's a Band-Aid.
Right, 6th grade is a Band-Aid. You have to
That's
do
what that
something. You have to do something, or 6th grade, like you said, is just a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
You have to do something with 7th and 8th, or it's, but that's why I feel that based on Tuesday night and the parents' questions, that you need to have some definitive, do we have the space at the high school? Can we do this? What's going to be the advantages? What's going to be the cons? Because let's face it, 7 through 12 does sound like an age range. However, with that being said, we're a 1A district. If you look at other 1A districts, they too have 7 through 12. Even big district, my sister's in Brevard County. Some of the high schools in Brevard are 7 through 12, and that's a big district. I do think that it would be a lot of advantages for us with teacher certification and being able to Like, for instance, our band director at the high school, if we ever find someone, then we will have one for middle and high school. That's one instance. But again, we need to have more definitive information of, do we have the stations there? That's like a secret. I mean, do we have it? Do we not have it? There's a lot of empty rooms there, but I don't know if we have the stations to support the high school where you could have the students where they're separated somewhat. Not that we can totally do it, because let's be real about it. We can't totally do it at Central, and it's K through 8. That's a bigger age range, and a lot of the 8th graders have repeated maybe 2 times, and it's even older than 8th grade. Should be maybe 10th graders. So you have pre-K through 10th grade there. So I don't know that no perfect place you can keep them 100% separated the whole day.
And they're not separated there. I can testify as
Absolutely
I
not.
taught there. And
I've
they-
taught there too. They
Yeah.
never have been.
No, they've
They
never
never
been.
have been. But again, but before we go to any of the schools with a plan, we need to see with data at the high school, can we even do it? Do we think it's going to be a success? And you know what? I know that there's people that don't want us to do this, but you know what? As a board, it's our decision about this. It's not people in the district office. It is the board's decision. If we think that we can do this, or it can be done, or we can have success, then we need to look at it. Because if not, it's going to be such a hemorrhage. We need to decide what people are going to be cut. Because it will not stop, in my opinion.
Well, I think it's shrunk every year, hasn't it?
It's consistently, the last 20 years, it's been declining enrollment, and it's been even more so since the charters have been added. And again, I'm not against the charter. I think it's great, but for us to be competitive, just like a business on the street, we have to do what we have to do to make it where we can market what we're doing where parents want to stay. And you know, there's been complaints, and I'm not saying do away with the middle school, but I am saying that a different service delivery model is something probably we need to look at. Because what we're doing 6 through 8 is not working in this district.
Mr. Kisworth has something.
Yes.
To address 2 of your concerns, the majority of the rooms at the high school are set up on a 25-to-1 ratio, because that's the ratio that the state gives you for your classes. So the simplistic way would be count the number of rooms, multiply it times 25 times, it'll give you ballpark what you are. Now, that's not an exact given because of the way the arrangement of how the school is, but just you have a concept of how many classes there are.
Do you know how
That'll
many
give you
there
a
are?
You know how
ballpark.
many?
Probably in the neighborhood of a little over 30. But now some are set up in labs and other things of that nature, so you gotta, I know one lab can hold close to 50, but those are things, that's just give you a ballpark now. We need to go out here and look at it to tell you for sure, because, you know, I'm just giving you an example. Also, as you were saying, some of the parts that you were saying that we need to be creative and look at this to, for lack of better words, protect public school interests, is we may need to explore other options. We got transportation, as we have spoken before, cut the 2-mile radius out. And I understand that, and I understand you don't get funding for those of that nature, but bulk of that are kids that are coming to your school. Okay, and I know that'll be your call. But also another piece you may need to look at while you're doing that is you also transport kids to charter schools that are not going to your schools for the most part. Maybe if you cut that out, that might bring some of them back. Or how they get to and from school, that's on them and their charter schools to figure that one out. I'm just giving you concept to think about, so.
It is something to think about, and looking at the charter school transportation for next year, because of their location change, we may not be able to do that anyway.
Yeah, because we've got to look out for our own purpose, like those. So those are some of the things, but I can find that number for you.
I will give him a copy of that fish report again.
And how many is at the high school now? 4 something?
It is based upon the, it's 459 459.
Probably about
And
130.
how many are you talking probably 7th and 8th grade off the top of your?
How many's in an average?
Got about.
It's about 25 at-
120 in each one of those classes, about 120 in each class.
So that'd be about, say, 250.
You could probably, I mean.
That would be 700
size-wise,
kids.
it
And on
might-
Ben's
it might be a little
calculation-
snug, But now, middle school, you remember the 1:4 ratio, or 1:22 ratio.
So what do you plan on doing with the Central School building? Since we're looking at moving all this, move the district office down there possible?
Well,
Since it's-
back when we were looking at saving money, that was one of the options that was on the table for saving money when that was, because we do not have money to build a new county office.
And
And
this building is really sick, we discovered it recently.
in this office is in desperate need of repair. Poor Miss Bishop, the sewage smell is so great above her office or below her office that I don't know how she's even working there.
Well, at least she's not caved in through the floor.
But again,
Like the bathroom
and
did.
again, I don't know that the high school, we need to go on an exploration and information session to see just what's what. Because there's a lot of unknowns.
Bart, when they built the school, remodeled the school, wouldn't they have an idea, like, how many students to accommodate? I
Well,
don't think that would be.
Well, again, we've had declining enrollment for the past 20 years.
I mean, how many will actually
Well,
accommodate?
based on what Mr. Killingsworth said, if it's 25 to 1 and there's 30 rooms, that's 750 students.
So when they remodeled, we lost student stations because we had like almost 1,000 kids there at one time.
You had
Over
about
a-
1,200
they
had over
kids
1,000.
there at one time.
And
So
Central has
probably
1,700.
250
How many
stations.
student stations were there when you were there? Ian?
Probably 1,100.
So-
Originally.
So we
but
did
now remember when that
$14
dropped,
million remodel and
50.
lost the capacity to have about 400 kids.
Yeah, that's the way it looks.
That's,
It's pretty accurate.
Can I make a
But-
suggestion?
Yes.
Whatever you do, and remember, we've also got the issue with the attendance zones and all that we talked about in the previous meeting. I think what you gotta do is you gotta look toward making your final decision, whatever you're gonna do, May of 2022. And then you back up from there, right? So the attendance zones at least have to be by policy, so that's gotta be advertised. So y'all have to get all that done by April of 2022. And that gives you, about 6 months from today to have built your consensus, talked to everybody, had your meetings, all that kind of stuff. I think the first question you need, and
Can you afford it?
you can't work this kind of stuff out in a committee. A committee is a great place to review a plan. It's a horrible place to come up with a plan, because you don't have everything in front of you. You may want to get your principal at the high school, or whoever the superintendent thinks would be the best, to give you a proposal. And the question needs to be not, do you think it's a good idea that we move 7th and 8th out here? But if we decide to do that, how are you going to accommodate? And have them give you a map and say, okay, this is going to be this area and that's going to be that area, where y'all can kind of look at that and see what and that gives you something that you can measure against the required class size reduction requirements and all of that. To number one, see, is that even possible?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the big thing, is you've got to know right now, there's no need in everybody getting upset about the decision on moving
Right.
7th and 8th back
Right.
if it's not physically possible to begin with, right?
Right.
I think that's your first step, because you want to know that before you go to the outlying schools
Right.
and say, hey, our plan is
Because
blank.
that's what the issue was Tuesday night is, they're all for 6th grade coming back, but
Then
they
what happens to our
want
7th and
to
8th?
know what's going to happen in 7th and 8th.
Well, so we're here at the second meeting in October. A plan like you're talking about to look at the high school, do you want to say, I don't know how long it would take to come up with that. Superintendent, you think 30 days would be enough, or where a plan like that could be sketched out, and maybe we do that in the second meeting in November?
Second meeting in November is a reorganization meeting.
Yeah,
We could do it.
sure.
That's
Y'all
3
do it.
weeks.
The second meeting in November is 3 weeks?
1, 2, 3. Second week is, that's gonna be the 15th. So it's one,
That's 4, because it's 25th, the 1st, the 8th, the 15th.
oh, it's 4 weeks, it's not,
But I mean, there's no magic about that, I'm just trying to,
okay.
we need to
And-
kind of set some dates here so we can
What were you
move.
saying, in 4 weeks' time, could we have looked at the high school and see, do they actually have the capacity and the, wherewithal to handle those additional students?
And yes, and the way I
Okay.
think I'd present it
Okay.
to the principal is, if we make the decision to move 7th and 8th out
You
here, how
got
you
these
gonna
many
handle it?
additional students in
That's
this
right.
grade, how would you
How you gonna
structure
handle
it?
it?
Okay.
And then that'll tell you, and then, and you need a date, and I don't know the magic date here, it could be
The
the,
15th will work.
and then that way, once you have that information, I think then you can start meeting, you start setting your meetings at the other, at the outlying schools. And you know, if you want to, you've got a meeting in December, that may be too quick, but you could start with your meetings in January, February, March, and like have a board meeting, have your actual board meeting at the school in Leeds, school in Greenville, school in Pinetta. Just rotate them that way, and that gives you time to advertise and tell people, hey, this is what we're gonna talk about, or this is where, you know, we're coming to the schools to listen to you and see what everybody thinks.
At Lee, they, based on the other night, because I had said, well, it needs to be another meeting when the whole board is there.
Absolutely.
And they didn't really want to do like, they would rather it be at the school site than say like at a big venue, like say the central, because they were able to ask more questions, and I guess it felt less like you were in a big meeting. But no, I feel that we need to have this set before we go back to, because again, you will get many questions concerning like what's going to be what.
But we don't have
And you don't
answers
really
right
know,
now.
other than we do know that DOE's not going to approve 7th and 8th going back out
We
there.
know that, and we know sixth grade is a
Yeah.
possibility.
Well, they've said that could, if we
Well,
have the room.
The sixth grade is part of the elementary school.
Right.
That's always been, you know,
So I think that looks like your first step is let's figure out what the high school, because if the high school, for instance, can't physically accommodate it, then, you know, we got to think of something else.
Right.
All right? So that's going to be the second meeting in November. And then from there, you guys will talk about it in December on what the next step is. Once we have that, we'll have the presentation, second meeting in November, first meeting in December. Y'all can talk about what you want to do. And everybody's had a chance to look at it and to kind of digest it. And then you can start your rotating, and I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I don't know that I understood you. Do you think the rotating meetings are a good idea, or
Yeah, I
would
mean,
rather not do that?
I mean, I don't know that you're going to have an influx of people there. I mean, we don't have many people here tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, if we had a packed house tonight, then and some of the schools may not could handle that, but I think that
Well, is there a better way to do it, I guess is the question.
I mean,
Could
I
we just
don't-
have a meeting just like for them for that purpose only, not during a regular board meeting, I think is what Mr. Alford's getting at.
Yeah.
Where they didn't have to
Or-
come for
or
other things, just that
whatever.
issue.
I don't know that, and I don't know that like us not advertising it, publicizing it, if that would be possible at the outlying schools where people who maybe aren't there could see it. I don't know. That would be a lot harder than here, because you have the mics and all here, and you wouldn't there, but.
However you want to do it, I mean, y'all are bored, you can have a meeting.
But I do think probably there would be the best, because at some of your community schools, people may not, like, if you're in Greenville, you may not want to drive into Madison. Or at Lee, you may not want to drive in.
And my experience, and I hope this doesn't sound too cynical, is that if something's really, really burning for somebody, they're going to drive to Madison. The point of going out to those outlying schools is you're showing them, look, we're trying to reach a hand out. We're trying to include everybody. We're trying to get, but I think it may be important as just a statement of the board's commitment to reach out to everybody, to go have a meeting at those outlying schools.
and they'd be more comfortable maybe going to those schools, since
Maybe.
it's their school.
Maybe, it kind of shows the board reaching that way instead of
Are we
people
gonna have
always
a
having to
meeting
reach up.
Are we gonna have a meeting at every school or just that one?
I think you need to do.
At every school, I would think,
Every
because it
school.
affects every school, whatever decision. It could affect the high school if we moved them there. It definitely will affect Central, the ones that are leaving, and then each one of the outlying schools with the sixth grade thing. It's everybody.
Okay?
The only one is a bridge, I mean,
And now, so if you're gonna do that, now that's 5 schools, right? So you got 3 outline schools, central and high school. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's every meeting, that's we got 1 meeting in January, 2 in February, 2 in March. So that's every meeting for January, February, March.
But if we're not doing it at a board meeting, we really could do one a
every
week.
It doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily have to be at a
Oh,
board
y'all
meeting.
saying do special?
Just-
yeah,
just a
maybe
special
just
meeting.
get them through and go ahead and have,
Some of them have two in a week, since
Yeah.
it's different population.
Be good.
okay, that's all I had. I just think we need to address that before it goes really any further. And,
Okay, so are you wanting the superintendent to have a report here, the second meeting in November?
that would be, I mean, some
Wait.
type of,
Let me tell you what I have down.
Yeah.
Okay, the November 1st meeting, that's with the Central School. That's for the discipline and the, okay, on the November 15th meeting, I will have a report back, as to, can the high school physically accommodate grades 7 through 12?
I think that's right, but I'd really rather phrase it differently.
Okay.
Because rather than saying, can we, you probably don't want a report that's
how
got a no
would we?
written on it and handed in.
Okay.
If you had to do 7th and 8th, how would you do it?
How would you do
How
it?
would they physically accommodate grades 7 through 12?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's all I'm supposed to be bringing back,
Yeah.
am I correct?
And I would think like with a map and kind of showing, okay, this is where this will be and that's where that will be.
Okay, grid of the school.
Grid of the school, yes. ma'am.
Okay,
Maybe the principal can do the report.
Right.
and that would be the next step of where we need to go.
Right.
Because right now, we're like,
Yeah.
Yes, if he comes back and says, well, these 5 kids are gonna have to be in this closet, well, okay, no, we probably can't do that.
right,
I mean, but you don't want the report to just have a no on it.
Short and sweet.
Yeah.
okay, 6.1 superintendent items.
okay, couple of things. One thing I need to clarify, these school visits, so the board is gonna take over the school visits and visit when? Because when I left the meeting at the first part of the year, the board was gonna be going around in January. So when is the, I have been going to, the PTO meeting just to listen, just so they can voice. But am I hearing that the board need to take over that?
No, but I think that we need to know what's going on at the high school before, I mean, at this point, all we can say to them is that 6th grade is a possibility of coming back to the outlying schools.
Okay,
In
because when I
seven-
went, I was just listening, I wasn't saying anything.
7th, but the thing with that,
Okay.
they're gonna want answers. They're gonna want, people are gonna ask questions and want answers.
So the decision on the meetings that we had planned to have in January is gonna be all determined on what be said on November 15th?
Well, and the 6th grade, I mean, no matter what happens on November the 15th, the 6th grade still could go back to the outlying schools. But again, we just need to know in the back of our head, for many parents, they're making their decisions based on 7th and 8th also. I mean, based upon what they said Tuesday night.
But what the questions that might come up in these particular meetings with us going to the outlying schools or all the schools, you would want to know what's going to happen with the 7th.
Yeah, I mean, I based on the other night, you would want to know what's going to happen with the 7th and 8th because those are going to be specific questions. And based on 3 years ago, an option is not going back to the outlying schools.
Well, you don't know what you're gonna do yet.
Right,
But you could go ahead and set meetings if you wanted, so that everybody understands where those meetings are. Like you could start in the end of January, and every Thursday for 5 weeks, you're gonna meet around, and you could go ahead and decide when you wanna do that, and that tells you when you have to have your decision made by, so that, and not really make a decision, but here are our options. And that way you're going to the schools and presenting those options and say, hey, this is what we're considering, what do y'all think?
But if the seventh and eighth graders will not be able to, the high school will not be able to, hold the seventh and eighth graders, we wouldn't have to visit but the outlying schools, not all of the schools. So we need to really know, you know what I'm saying? Because
Right.
they're the ones that's gonna be receiving the sixth graders back.
Right.
So we wouldn't really have to visit with the high school about the sixth graders, and we would, I mean, the central school,
Is losing sixth grade.
exactly, so.
I-
And it would be 3 meetings instead of 5.
There's no
Can
law on
we,
how that works.
schedule those meetings next time, because I need to look at the calendar, because in January, I know we have the teacher of the year banquet, and we start having banquets, and I have those dates, so we won't have a conflict. I'll bring those dates with me to the next meeting, to November, whenever we meet again, November 1st. Okay, moving right along. I need y'all to know that I went to the FISBIT, which is our risk management, our insurance pool award, and fall conference. Miss Gibson normally attends. I think this is the first time she's missed in a while.
I think that's the first time I had something else
Okay,
going on.
and we've got the Best of the Best award. What that means, looking at our workers' comp claims and all the different claims, Madison County did very good this past school year, 2021.
Good.
That's gonna be a hard act to follow. That's just like when you receive an A. It's gonna be hard to maintain an A rather than get it up there. But we do appreciate them recognizing us for this. Another good light note, Keller Services started with us today. They're managing our substitutes. I know they did not find a whole lot, a lot more subs, but they are constantly recruiting, and hopefully it will be fine. But it was a smooth transition. Now, I got another big conversation that we need to have. How are we handling school volunteers now, since a lot of things have been opened up? COVID is still out there. I still believe in COVID. But I have teachers and I have school personnel asking me, how are we handling volunteers in the classrooms to come in the classrooms? And the different things. And I need your direction.
Well, I thought the last meeting we opened up things, so we have dances and football games and.
But are we gonna allow parents in the classrooms? Not parents, volunteers in the classroom? Yes, we did open up dances. Yes, we did open up those, but in a confined classroom, in settings like that. Oh, what's your pleasure?
That's a biggie. I mean, you want to and then you don't want to.
But I'm for opening it back like it's normal.
When you say volunteers in the classroom,
Yes,
like assisting the teacher, what is
that's
volunteering?
been past practice of
Oh, yeah.
parents, teachers,
Helping
adults, a
children.
lot of people go in the classroom, they sit in there, that's something they've been doing. We just eliminate parents coming down to the classrooms and this past year.
Are the mentors coming into the school?
They're not coming into the school. I don't know whether they're still doing mentors or not, but they would come and meet directly
Yeah,
with.
Take stock in children. As far as I know, I didn't know that they stopped it.
They would have had to have stopped it if volunteers couldn't come in.
Last year, we weren't letting any
No.
volunteers in the class, outside people in the classrooms.
We had a list of volunteers that was coming in and assisting the kids.
Okay, that's in prior years. These are going on a field trip. Most of these are going on a field trip with the FFA. They go to their national conference. And that's what most of these volunteers are about. And then we had some volunteers that were helping at the concession stand for the football game, the band. That's what the volunteers were about. But just general volunteers to come into school and go on field trips with parents, with kids. What's your pleasure?
Well, they're going on
Well, yeah,
field
they're
trips,
doing,
I don't know.
they're doing
that-
everything else. I mean, I don't,
I just need direction from
I
you
mean, if
because
you
I
think about
have.
if they're going on field trips, then what would be different than going on a field trip or volunteering in the classroom? Because you're on a bus with them.
yeah, I don't see any difference in it. I don't have a problem with it.
I don't either.
And if a
Yeah,
teacher,
no, COVID
if
is
there's
still
any
around.
teacher that's uncomfortable
It's
with that,
always
you don't have to accept a volunteer
No.
in your room.
Okay.
I mean, that's always been that way. Even when I was still working, if you didn't want to volunteer in your room, you didn't have to have one. I mean, nobody could make you take one into the room, because there's been years that we would appreciate volunteers, and then other years where you'd have a child that maybe with autism or something, that would be very disruptive for somebody different to come in and stuff. So, I mean, they have that option if they're not comfortable with it, if a teacher's not comfortable with that for her classroom.
Okay, how much parents' rights do we have? Because the parents might be satisfied with the students in the classroom, but someone coming, because we cannot ask them or question them, see whether they've been vaccinated or not. Okay, someone coming from outside, we do not know their status, and coming into your child's classroom. And we still have staff out that's lingering from the effects of COVID. COVID is over, but they still out because of what happened to them with COVID. And so I need you to consider that. I'll do whatever you ask me to do, but I just want
If
to
the
know
teacher-
where we, huh?
I mean, if a teacher is out, you're gonna try your best to get a sub to come in there.
We could agenda it for the next meeting too, if you want to think about it.
Yeah, maybe do that next week, because this is it's like you do when you want to do it, and then you don't want to do it. There's benefits to
But
both sides.
And I don't know what kind of liability we opening ourselves up, but we
would
cannot
we be
question
liable?
these people whether they have COVID or not.
But what would be any different than like on field trips, when parents go on field trips? There'd be no difference.
I don't see a difference, but I mean, I'm just saying if y'all want to think about it.
I would like to think about it for a little while. I mean, we could table or whatever we're gonna do, whether we're gonna vote on it or whatever, but until the next meeting.
I think you definitely need to vote on it,
Yeah.
whatever you do.
It's
Y'all don't
just-
have, y'all don't have to vote on it today, but whatever decision y'all make, you need, needs to be a
Why don't we do
motion.
it the next
A
week?
second vote.
Maybe
Okay,
can
so
table
we-
that to next
we'll then
meeting.
put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
Okay, so you need to be an agenda item for action. Okay. And report cards went out last Friday. We do have some concerned parents, but they went out like they were on schedule like they were supposed to. Everybody didn't get the same grade they desired, but they got what they earned.
That's what it's always should be.
Okay. Is that all, Ms. Joseph?
Yes, sir.
Okay, attorney items?
Just one thing, I brought up several meetings ago that the Board of County Commissioners was considering redistricting. As y'all are, I'm sure, aware, the school board districts are the same as the county commissioner districts. And the reason for that is you have to hire a professional to come in and do that, and that's expensive. And so the way we did it, when we last did it, which was decades ago, was everybody, the county commissioner and school board chipped in and hired one professional. The school board is required to redistrict when it thinks it's necessary. The county commission, though, under Florida law, may only redistrict on odd numbered years, which makes sense because the elections are on the even number of years. So if they're going to redistrict, they redistrict on the odd years. The problem they're having, though, is we didn't even get the census information until August and all that. So it's getting late in the year. I think it would be possible to redistrict, but it would be very difficult to get all that done in public meetings and all that kind of stuff before the end of the year. So what the county commission decided was to put it off until 2023. And so what will probably happen is we'll be coming back in January of 2023 and see if the county and the school board can get together and do that again.
Did Madison County's population decrease or increase?
The census showed it decreased. But now, remember, a decrease or an increase countywide doesn't necessarily make you redistrict. It's the proportion between those districts. And so what you're allowed to do is your districts, there's no exact formula, but what the U.S. Supreme Court has said is that if the spread between your lowest population district and your highest population district is not more than 10%, that's generally presumed to be acceptable.
No, I
And
was
so-
listening that Florida gained another representative because
Yeah,
Florida.
Madison didn't help with that.
No, not Florida.
But, and also like you alluded to, the districts are based upon population, not registered voters necessarily. You would think those would tend to be close, but they're not always. That was all I had.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Carroll?
The only thing I've been thinking about is, it's real concerning to me that we lose so many employees, teachers, bus drivers, whatever. Every month that we get that report, that means somebody's resigning, and they're more resigning than we're feeling, and it's real concerning, and I don't know what the answer is, but I know that we're gonna have to start trying to do something other to keep our folks, because if we ever gonna be where we ought to be, we're gonna have to have people that's gonna be there year after year after year after year, because continuity is big time as far as I'm concerned. And so I don't know what the answer is, but it is concerning to me that we don't, we talking about, schools and this and that, but those principals don't have a full staff and still don't have one, so it's kind of tough. It's kind of tough, but anyway, I don't know what the answer is, but maybe somebody does. So, and that's all I got.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Bell?
I would like to say congratulations to the Madison County Central School for going undefeated in the football team, and they play Mariana tomorrow towards the championship. Job well done to Mr. Bright and staff and the players.
Yes, our congrats to them. I'd especially like to thank Mrs. Cootie for what you've been doing since February. I know it's a tremendous job and a lot of stress, and you are appreciated. Thank you.
Ms. Williamson?
I want to thank Cindy also, and I want to congratulate our attorney, Mr. Reeves, on his appointment from the governor.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, yes.
And I too would like to thank Ms. Cootie for all she's done and is continuing to do in keeping the transportation department going. I too would like to congratulate Central's football team. That's a big accomplishment. The one thing that I'm asking, and this used to be really a stickler with some board members in the past, is that tonight, out of courtesy to the board and people in the general public, when I didn't allow the item to be, when I pulled it from the agenda, I'm asking that all items, if they're not on our website or on our board docs by Wednesday, prior to the meeting, then it's not going to be on that week's. It's not fair to the board members, it's not fair to the public for things to appear the day of or Friday when, if by chance you're not able to see it or not able to get in contact with who you need to get in contact with, it's just not fair. And as board members, we have to read through this information, and then for the public, you do have people in the public who are going to board docs looking, and then when we repeatedly either are late putting stuff there or don't put stuff there, then they will think that we're trying to hide something, and we're not trying to hide anything. We're not getting it either. So again, I'm just asking that it be given to us by Wednesday. If not, then it will be heard the next board meeting, not the one that's following that. Also, Ms. Joseph, the thing that struck me on Tuesday night is, from what this mother was telling me that was just so horrific. I mean, I have got to get with you and get you to investigate some of the allegations. I would like for exit interviews to be, or exit survey, if you will, to be given from now on to all employees who exit the district of why they're leaving. and that could paint a picture of why people are leaving due to whatever reason, for a better idea for the board to see.
Mr. Kingsworth does that.
Do we have that?
We do on some, however, some
Some leave and,
you won't get it.
but
We
that's
try.
all about
You know,
procedure.
they just,
For the
throw
ones
their
who,
sucker in the dirt and they're done.
Don't
For the
send a
ones-
check.
Yeah, well, I agree with you, but, I mean, we do try.
for the ones who do, I would like to start, and I can't speak for the other board members, I would like for us to start seeing what they say. And I would also like for parents who withdraw their students, for at that time, for some type of short little survey to be given of why they're leaving. Is it because of teacher engagement, teacher lack of engagement? Are they satisfied but moving? Just so we have an idea of what we need to work on.
Okay, you mean if,
I mean, when Susie goes to withdraw from Lee,
okay,
then at that time, the parent be given something, and if you'll just please fill this out. Why are you leaving? We're moving to another town. Then that
Okay.
tells us why they're leaving. Why they're leaving is because the teacher told me to go to sleep during class. That's why I'm leaving. So we have an idea of what, so we can, as a board, will know why people are leaving these schools in Exodus. Is it to go to Creative Arts? Is it to move to Live Oak? Is it to go here? Just as a way where we can have better data of why people are leaving. I know people don't have to fill that out, but
so you need more than, you're looking for more than the withdrawal codes.
I would like to know from the parents, we could do like a little 5-question survey where they check boxes of why they're leaving the school. Are you happy? Would you come back to school here? Just some of your basic public relations type questions. Was this a good experience? Was this a bad experience? What can we do to make it better?
And I think most parents would be happy to talk to.
Well, the ones the other night were, just as a public, where we could be better stewards of the school and better in knowing how we need to improve. Because I think it's very easy for people to sit back and think, oh, it's great, when in reality, there's a lot of problems that you don't really realize until you're slapped in the face with it. If you see stuff every day, you don't know that it's abnormal until you have someone with fresh eyes come in who hadn't been seeing it and say, this is not normal. But that's all I have to say. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I think you have another comment.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can tell you in general of the ones that I've talked to, your main things are either money, relocation, or some health issues, COVID, some of those type of concerns. That is probably about 95% of the issues.
You talking about the employees?
You're talking about
Correct, of employees, now I'm not talking about children,
Uh-huh.
but that is the bulk of what it is.
By
You
by
got a
money,
few of them that are a little chapped about something, but that's your main thing.
but by money, you mean they're going to take another job they're getting paid more?
Correct.
Yeah.
There's other places that are giving incentives and, they'll stay there a little while, then they're gonna leave, but, I mean, that doesn't help me
I
today.
think some of them, you know, I've had a couple tell me, you know, about when they didn't get their step back in the day, and they've been here, and they still on step 14, but they've been up here 20-something years or
Yeah, I
something.
know you're talking about.
The union controls that. And
I didn't say who
we tell
controls
them-
it, I'm just saying why they left.
I mean, I just think it would be good for the ones who will, just as information for the board, but really with the students, us to take a look at. I mean, when people start making these big allegations to you in these public places, as a board member, we need to direct the superintendent to investigate these allegations. And I mean, that's serious things that are being said, and if parents truly are leaving for those reasons, and I don't think this parent would have made it up that night, then we need to look into that. And I would have never known that unless we would have been at that meeting and she said it to me there in the meeting.
I don't know what parent it was, but we need, when it comes down to hearing stuff in the street, and I found a lot of stuff that I hear in the street is not facts.
This would have been facts. It was
So,
a
I mean, I don't know the
reputable.
person, but I've dealt with people with different issues that have come to me, and I do my own little investigation and ask questions. It might had a little factual in it, but then they blew it all up to.
Well, this person was reputable, and she has inconvenienced herself by withdrawing her child because her other kids are still at other schools in the district. And she went into the situation, going into it, she said, with an open mind. She had heard horrible things. She's like, I'm not going to listen, I'm going to go in and try it. And she tried it for like 6 weeks, and some of the things she said I couldn't leave the child there. So one child is home, the others are at other schools in the district.
You know, I know we're not perfect, and I know none of the schools are not perfect, but I just want to make sure when we address certain issues, the facts come through.
Well, I want that too, because nobody should have to go through what has been alleged that this person went through.
Because we're here for the safety of the children, to make sure they have given,
Absolutely.
but we don't want nobody to be accused of something that's not true either.
Again, I don't think that anyone's doing that. That's why I'm gonna get the information and get it to Ms. Joseph and ask for an investigation to be done on it.
I'll be on it tomorrow afternoon.
Well, I need to get the information for you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I made the motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? Meeting adjourned.
Cookies.